News and information 570 AM.
96.3 FM HD2. KLIF Dallas. KSCS FM HD2 Fort Worth. KLIF.com.
A Cumulus station.
Now, from the 5th floor Cumulus Studios in downtown Dallas, it's time for Inside Real Estate. Here's your host, Michael Kruizinga.
Good morning, Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. This is Inside Real Estate, and I'm your host, Mike Kruizinga, your local Dallas-Fort Worth area realtor. We're going to be talking all things real estate today, and of course, we're going to get into some sports and entertainment. I'm excited. We've got our high school sports segment back today, so live in studio. We're going to have Coach Wood from the Aledo football program here in studio. We're going to be chatting a little bit later this morning. And then we got Brooke Owen in studio from Millennium Title. We're going to be talking title talk. And then, of course, as always, we're going to get JC in here for some insurance talk. And then our favorite ladies from Supreme Lending Rockwall, they're going to be here for some mortgage talk, Angela and Terry. So we got an action-packed morning for you. Thanks for tuning in. Call number if you want to talk to us, 888-787-KLIF, 888-787-KLIF. That's 5543 on the back end. Website, InsideRealEstateRadio.com, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. You can connect with all of us right there. If you want to be a part of the show, advertise on the show. If you want to be part of that high school sports segment that we have, connect with us right there. All of our information is right there, and, of course, all of our partners as well. Don't forget the app. If you got one of them smarty phones, whether it's Droid or Apple, punch in DFW Metroplex Real Estate, and courtesy of SnapRealEstate.com, you can get all the latest and greatest in real estate information and listings right there on your smarty phone. So a lot going on. We're going to try to rapid fire through a lot today. We got a lot to get to. Voting time, and I talked about this last week. Don't forget Proposition 1. So we're in early voting right now, and you need to check out Proposition 1. I was kind of more into detail about that last week, but you definitely want to vote for Proposition 1. You know, what's that going to do for us? Well, as a homeowner, it's going to increase your homestead deduction from $15,000 to $25,000. Okay, we want to do that. That's positive. That's going to reduce your tax burden a little bit. And then there's a preemptive law that we're trying to pass here with this about no transfer taxes, no sales taxes on real estate transactions. Now, we don't have that currently, but there's been a lot of talk about that nationally and at the state level. And, of course, we want to cut that off at the pass. We do not want that to ever happen. And so we want to preemptively say, hey, no way, Texas, no way do we want to have a transfer tax or sales tax on the sale of any real estate property. We do not want that ever. And so we're just going to say, hey, boom, we got a law for that. And Prop 1. So get out there and vote, folks, for Proposition 1. Let's get to, how about some headlines real quick? We've got a few things going on in the DFW area. Hey, Kubota is coming to town. They're going to be coming to Grapevine. New headquarters going to be coming up. It's going to be about a $50 million headquarter campus in Grapevine. Obviously, Texas is a huge area for Kubota. And so off of 121, it's going to be about a three-story, 125,000 square foot office building and another 68,000 for R&D facility, warehousing, scheduled to open late next year. And kind of just in time for the Kubota International Convention, which is going to be held where? Well, right at the Gaylord Texan Convention Center next door, nearby. So, hey, Kubota, come to town. That means more jobs, all kinds of good stuff for the economy. So that's a great thing right there. And if you're a fan of shakes and burgers, Shake Shack is going to be coming to town, uptown at the Crescent Complex. That's going to be up next year. That Crescent Complex was undergoing about a $65 million makeover, and Shake Shack, based out of the Northeast, is going to be bringing their burgers and shacks and shakes to town. And they're going to have indoor and outdoor seating over there, and that's going to be pretty sweet. That whole complex opened back in '86, and so this is going to be the part of the first major renovation in about several decades. So if you're a big fan of that, well, there you go. Here it comes. What else we got? Hey, this was interesting, folks, and this was kind of important because there's a practice out there known as in the industry as redlining. That's a bad thing. This is kind of goes to fair housing and fair lending. And, the DOJ and Consumer Financial Protection Bureau kind of found a bank up in the Northeast. This was Hudson City Savings Bank that they were avoiding giving credit access to low-income and minorities. And so they've actually got 135 banking offices up in New York and the metro area up there. Of course, they said they disagreed with the statistical analysis of their loans, saying that they did provide access. But at the same time and in the same statement, they said they would agree to throw out $25 million in damages. And of course, they're saying, you know what, you're also going to pay a $5.5 million penalty and throw $2.25 million at advertising and outreach programs. So looking at about $33 million or so for them doing that. Has not been finalized with the judge yet, but looks like those guys are in trouble. And, we think that this is something that's kind of long gone from the industry. But evidently it is still happening, and of course this is still in the alleged status. But those types of things are still out there, and if you are caught doing that, hey, the DOJ and the authorities are going to find out about it. Excited to talk about high school football again, and I'm just going to give you a quick recap on some things that are going on in the high school football world, and then coming up at about 8:30 or so, we're going to be talking to Coach Wood of Aledo. But just want to give you a rundown of what's going on in high school football, run through some of the numbers for you. Let's go 6A, Arlington Martin, 4-0 in District 5-2. And I may not have all the numbers in from this weekend because we had a lot of delays from Friday. Some of the games went to Saturday. So all of my numbers may not be quite up to speed with this past weekend, but we tried to get all the numbers as current as possible. Denton Ryan on top of their group, 4-0 District, 7-0. Allen, 8-0, 6-0 in District. And I'm just going to kind of hit on the top guys in their groups here. Euless Trinity, 9-0, 5-0 in District. Cedar Hill up top, 8-0, 4-0 in their district. Mansfield right behind them. Mansfield's still 4-0 in District, but 6-2 overall. Jesuit up 5-0 District, 7-1 overall. Highland Park, 7-1, 5-0 in District. What else do we got here? Fort Worth Boswell doing all right. Lake Dallas 4-0 in District, 6-2 overall. The all Frisco division, I call it, with just the Colony and Little Elm. Frisco Lone Star up 6-1. Little Elm at the bottom, 0-5 in District. I hate to be Little Elm in that division right now. That's tough. Wiley East up top, 5-0. Woodrow Wilson up 5-0, 7-1 overall. Terrell 5-0, District 7-1. Oak Cliff South 4-0 in District. The Mansfield, Lake Ridge up 4-0, 7-0 District. And what else we got? Who's else out here? Salina 8-0. Salina's still 8-0, is that right? They're looking good. Used to play Salina back when I was living in Frisco, Texas, way back in the day when it was all farmland. Kennedale in their small little grouping, they're up top, looking pretty good. their group. And good old Princeton, they're on top in their group. That kind of rounds out the area for the most part. This was a funny story I saw, and actually this is probably the best part of talking about the Dallas Cowboys right now, because this is kind of funny. Cole Beasley, who actually played for Little Elm back in the day, he showed up to a Prosper game over the weekend, and he forgot cash. You know, we're in this cashless society, and he just had his credit cards, and he couldn't get into the game. He was on the radio the other day, said nobody recognized him, and he wasn't going to ask for special treatment. And so he turned around and went home, but hopefully he'll catch a game, you know, one of the last few games of the season coming up. But that was a pretty funny story. I'm a big fan of Cole Beasley, by the way, you know, because he's just such a hard worker, and I wish all the players worked as hard as he did. You know, which brings me to, and I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, you know, Greg Hardy's first start a couple weeks ago before the bye, and he was as advertised. He really knocked it out of the park. Heck of a pass rusher, heck of a player, you know, but unfortunately he comes with the off-field antics to a degree. And I know there's all this debate about second chances in the NFL all the time. But, you know, 2 weeks ago, the day he came back, Terry Bradshaw went on a rant on pregame and absolutely flat out said, you know what, there's just no place in the NFL for a man that touches a woman in any shape, form, or fashion. And it really just quietened the entire Fox News desk when he did that. And honestly, I was sitting there watching that, and I thought, you know what, he's just bang on. He's bang on. I'm just so tired of these guys doing what they do, and they get by with it because they can play. I think it's a privilege to play in the sport, especially at that stage and at all, and just absolutely agreed with it. Jim Rome said it maybe best the other day on his show, and he flat out called him, a Showtime word for your booty, and I think that may be correct, but you know, you got to give it to him on field. He's a heck of a player. I just wish off the field these guys would be as stellar as they are on the field, and it's just frustrating for us fans for sure. Folks, it's Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga. We'll be back in a few.
With decades of experience, the Rocky Martin Supreme Lending Team will work to close your home loan in 30 days or less. With access to the most competitive interest rates, the most financing options, and the most access to down payment assistance programs, the Rocky Martin team won't be beating service to you for all your mortgage needs, including purchase and refinance. Trust RockyMartin.com and his team for their reliable and fast loan process. Go to RockyMartin.com or call 972-772-1866 today.
For housing lender, NMLS ID number 211731-6730, Horizon Road, Suite B, Heath, Texas 75032.
Sellers, how would you like your home sold guaranteed? Buyers, how would you like your bid guaranteed to win? Well, it's real simple. Call Mike Kruizinga with Chris Arnold Premier Realty and ask about their guarantee programs for both buyers and sellers. No one beats Mike's professional listing and marketing services for all price ranges, including luxuries and ranches. And few have the knowledge and patience to take first-time buyers from renting to home ownership in a tough market. Visit DFWMetroplexRealestate.com and mention you heard this on the radio. And listen to Mike Sundays, 8 a.m. on KLIF for Inside Real Estate.
Hey folks, we're back. It's Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga, website InsideRealEstateRadio.com, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. It's time for another insurance segment. We've got J.C. Harder of the J.C. Harder Goosehead Insurance Agency, the website jcharderagency.com, phone number where they are always standing by for all your insurance needs, 214-643-6108. J.C., welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Mike. Good to be back.
All right, let's get into some insurance talk. What do we got today?
All right, so the past couple of weeks we've talked a lot about what's covered, how much is covered, you know, why it's covered, but we're going to take a few weeks to go over some different carriers that we represent and hit the high points with them and just really kind of drill in on the, some of the top carriers that we represent. As always, feel free to call in, if something, sparks interest or whatnot, or, you can follow up with us, by email or go to the website. First partner we're going to talk about is Travelers, which is one of the oldest, most reliable insurance companies in the nation. Most of you will recognize them. If you don't recognize the name, then you'll recognize the red umbrella. They're all over, the TV as far as commercials are concerned, and they sponsor a lot of sporting events, specifically some golf tournaments and things like that. As far as being close to home, they were actually the insurance company on Big Tex at the state fair. So they had a pretty good payout on that here recently after the burn down there. But they are the third largest writer of personal lines insurance in the nation, and they're the only carrier listed on the Dow 30 as well. Where some companies will limit you on water damages, I always go back to water damages because it's such a popular claim and a very likely claim. Travelers is one that's not going to give you any age restrictions on the house. So on your there's little pockets of Dallas that have homes built in the early 1900s where some company might max you out at $5,000 or $10,000 of water damage. They're going to give you that full policy limit. So if the home's insured at $300,000 and you have a large pipe break, you have up to $300,000 to repair for that.
And that's a pretty big deal if you are in one of those areas that's got those homes built some time back. I mean, there's a big difference in a home, for example, even built in the 1960s and how it was constructed versus homes in the 50s and beyond.
Absolutely. And also on as far as from the newer homes, let's kind of go on the opposite side of that spectrum. They're giving really good discounts and unique discounts for green homes. So, solar panels, tankless water heaters, kind of the real efficient, newer type, green homes, if you will. Mm-hmm. So they're giving some extra discounts on that end of the spectrum as well.
Absolutely.
What's nice is, they have, partnered up and they have product across the board. So they can do your homes, your rentals, your, of course, the auto, condos, really commercial auto. They have some market for that as well, too. So they can be a one-stop shop. And, of course, they're A++ rated, from the AM Best, which is the financial rating system. So obviously, if they've done it time in, year in, year out for a very long time. And they're one of the only insurance companies that hire adjusters. They're all employed by Travelers. So where most companies will use third-party adjusters, these are all in-house Travelers employees, so for a better claim experience.
Right. And folks, why we're talking about each of these vendors is because you need to understand that JC and Patty are experts in the insurance business, and they have the ability to shop all of these providers out there, these insurance providers out there, to match you, the consumer, with the best one at the best rate for what you need. And this just shows how much expertise JC has in knowing all of these providers and how he can match these providers up with you to match up the situation that best meets your needs.
Right. And I mean, sometimes Travelers isn't going to be the best option price-wise all the time. But if they're anywhere close, then we're going to go into them because I really have had really good claims experience with them. And, from all the highlights we've already mentioned, they're a top-notch carrier. Last two little points on the auto side with them. They're one of the only companies out there that's offering that premier new car replacement. So if you're buying a 2015 or 2016 car, Travelers will give you a guaranteed new car replacement. So the biggest headache with autos is as soon as you drive it off the lot, it depreciates. Well, this endorsement gives you the same price of a brand new car up to within 5 years of that new vehicle.
Yeah, and that's absolutely huge because, what do we spend a lot of our time doing while driving around on these freeways? And there's a lot of crazy drivers out there. Things happen. And for that, yeah, absolutely, you're right, because we're always getting hit with depreciation, and you may not be able to replace that new vehicle with a new vehicle or like vehicle. And so this is allowing you to do that. And folks, just another reason why you need to go to JC to let him match you up with the best carrier for your needs.
Yeah, and then again, just to round it out, Travelers, if you go back to a couple weeks ago when we talked about named risk and all risk, this is one of the all risk policies, so it is the upgrade, and it has the great water coverage, which is most important as well.
Absolutely. And folks, look, it's all about protecting your assets and protecting you when something does happen and making sure you're getting taken care of. We're not just looking for you to, pay your monthly premiums and then forget about you at the end. And that's why JC goes through all the trouble and hassle of making sure he's an expert on everything in the insurance industry so he can match up your unique situation to the best provider, the best policy at the best prices for you. Folks, it's been J.C. Harder of the J.C. Harder Goosehead Insurance Agency. JCHarderAgency.com is the website. Phone number 214-643-6108. for all of your insurance needs. It's been another great insurance segment with J.C. Harder. Folks, it's Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga. We'll be back in a few.
Millennium Title Carroll PC Real Estate is a unique multi-service real estate title, law, and real estate investment firm that handles over 150 commercial and residential closings each month. Their real estate, legal, and tax services range from purchases to refinances to short sales and reverse mortgages. They can handle all of your real estate, legal, and tax planning needs. Their experience offers clients and investors a comprehensive perspective in managing their real estate, law, and investment needs. Visit txtitleattorney.com. That's txtitleattorney.com or call 817-310-0136.
With decades of experience, the Rocky Martin Supreme Lending Team will work to close your home loan in 30 days or less. With access to the most competitive interest rates, the most financing options, and the most access to down payment assistance programs, the Rocky Martin team won't be beating service to you for all your mortgage needs, including purchase and refinance. Trust RockyMartin.com and his team for their reliable and fast loan process. Go to RockyMartin.com or call 972-772-1866 today.
For housing lender, NMLS ID number 211731-6730 Horizon Road, Suite B, Heath, Texas 75032.
The J.C. Harder Insurance Agency in Uptown Dallas has nearly unlimited resources when it comes to getting you the best insurance rates and policies for home, auto, and more. As part of the Goosehead Insurance brand, you, the consumer, have the power of choice through the J.C. Harder Insurance Agency Network. For a quote today on all your insurance needs, stop by J.C.'s office on McKinney Avenue in Uptown Dallas. Call 214-643-6108 or visit jcharderagency.com. That's 214-643-6108 or jcharderagency.com.
Hey folks, we're back with Inside Real Estate. It's Mike Kruizinga, website InsideRealEstateRadio.com, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. Time for another great mortgage segment with our team from the Rocky Martin team over at Supreme Lending Rockwall. Website RockyMartin.com. Phone number 866-607-5667. Welcoming back this time, we've got Angela Meineke and Terry Wagner, and we're going to talk about eligibility requirements for the borrowers. Welcome back, ladies.
Thank you. Good morning. So we want to talk about borrower eligibility, like you said, and first-time home buyers. So there's a lot of question out there surrounding, yes, I see all the news and I see the interest rates are low and I see the housing market is great. But if you've never purchased a home, you may be asking yourself, can I buy a house? So we're going to go through a few things that are needed to be eligible to purchase a home, specifically if this is your first time buying a house. So the definition of a first-time home buyer is, like it says, someone who's never purchased a home before. And Mike, I got to quiz you. Do you know the age that you have to be in Texas in order to purchase a home?
I'm going to go with 16.
18. So to enter a legal contract in Texas, you have to be 18. Therefore, to purchase a home in Texas, you have to be at least 18. I actually, believe it or not, didn't know that until Terry and I were doing our research and just digging through some of our guidelines. And I stopped and thought for a second, and I thought, well, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I've had people in their 20s.
Sure.
Although it seems like more and more everybody is moving from their parents' basement at the age of 35 now, and that's the first-time buyer. But
that is, our trend. But FYI, legally in the state of Texas, you have to be 18 to purchase a home.
All right, let's get these kids out of high school and into some homes, can we?
I mean, oftentimes if you go to college, and you don't have the luxury of, your parents paying your rent or education loans, you have to actually pay a monthly rent. Well, technically, we could put you in a house and you could pay a monthly mortgage. It's just a little bit of a bigger obligation. But as long as you understand that, there's no reason why you can't buy a house.
Yeah, I mean, here's a thought. You could go and take $150,000 worth of university debt or $150,000 mortgage. I don't know. Which way can you go?
Well, technically, you could do both, just not at the same time.
True.
So maybe that's why we're seeing 35-year-olds buying houses for the first time.
That's right.
Pay off one before you do another.
Sure.
So another requirement is that you have to have a Social Security number. There are some questions out there about, what happens if you don't have a Social Security number. And for a mortgage loan, regardless of the state, a federal mortgage loan requires a Social Security number.
Right. And it's important to point out, if I can talk correctly here, if it's important to point out that you can buy property cash.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
so there's a distinction there. If you want to purchase with a loan, you got to have that SS number.
Exactly. And yes, we are talking about first-time home buyers that will be acquiring a mortgage to purchase the home. Thank you for that clarification. Absolutely.
You're welcome.
You have to have a job or some kind of, substantial income that we can prove. I mean, I've had people come to me and say, well, I'm in college and my parents pay my bills, but I don't have a job. Well, if your parents want to purchase the home and they have jobs, that's okay. If you have a job, it is not. If you don't have a job, it is not okay. You have to have a job. We have to be able to verify your income.
I'm going to throw one thing in right there, Angela. There is one, and you probably know this and just didn't think about it. You can buy a house if you are in college and you go on the first part of the note and your parents co-sign as what we call non-occupying co-borrowers. I've done a couple of those. They're not real prevalent, but if you don't have a job, it's okay if your parents want to try to start your credit off for you and put you on the loan, and then they're actually the qualifying part of that piece of puzzle.
Right. Cosigner, basically. Yeah. And a lot of people understand the term, thank you, Terry, good point, cosigner. And that's exactly what it is. So if you don't have a job, yet someone is signing with you that does and can verify income, then that's okay. Absolutely. And then the next thing is that if you're going to purchase a home and you're married, but your spouse does not want to go on the loan, that's okay. Most people think, well, if I'm married, then we both have to be on the qualifying, we both have to be on the loan. Not necessarily. Texas does state that if you're legally married, both spouses have to sign, a couple of the documents at closing, but that does not mean that you both have to qualify on the loan. If one person has better credit and makes more money and you just want to use one of the two to qualify, that's okay.
Yeah, because they're both still going to own the property because they're married and they'll both be on the deed. But yeah, strategically, that may be an option for some couples to put it under one name, or out of necessity, based on credit scores by one of the spouses, they may need to go with just one of the spouses.
Exactly. And we're going to, steer you in the right direction on that whenever you call us. So we'll help you determine if that's going to be the case or not.
Okay. Very good.
Well, I wanted to talk about some of the down payment options for you in your borrower eligibility. Just because you don't have the cash flow for down payment doesn't mean necessarily that you're not eligible to buy a house. You can have a gift. Your family members, your parents, your grandparents, your brothers, your sisters, aunts, uncles. There's a list of eligible donors that we can pull from. But you can certainly have a gift to pay for your down payment and or closing costs. If you do not have someone that is willing to give you money, I don't. Then you can use a down payment assistance. There are down payment assistance programs available for us. And you don't have to be a first-time home buyer for either one of those options. You can be, it's just a borrower eligibility. So there's down payment assistance. We've talked about the down payment assistance programs before, and maybe we'll go over it again because there's a lot of information there. Sure. But you have to have a minimum of a 640 credit score. But other than that, if you qualify for the loan itself, we can get you qualified for down payment assistance. So don't not buy a house now in this market, in this climate that we're in, because you don't have the 3.5% or the 5% down.
Right, because there's plenty of ways for us to potentially get you into a home, and the rent prices out there keep going up and up and up, and we can probably get you in for less than what you're paying in rent.
Yes.
To a home, and surprisingly, maybe with zero money out of your pocket.
We've done that before, haven't we, Mike?
We absolutely have.
And just real quickly, the down payment assistance minimums. Typically for a conventional, it's 5%, but as a first-time home buyer, it can be as low as 3%. And then you have your FHA at 3.5% down, and you've got USDA and VA loans are at 100% financing, so no money down. So those are the loans that, if we're able to go those directions and you don't have a large amount of available cash, maybe we can get the seller to chip in on the closing costs, and you'd be out very little money out of pocket without having to utilize the gift or the down payment assistance programs.
Right, absolutely. So, and it's important to point out that we would need to get some seller help. Even if they did get the down payment assistance, more than likely we're still going to need some seller help. But there's a number of ways to do that, especially in a tight market. We can even add on to the sales price if we feel like it can appraise.
Right.
There's a number of strategies we can implement to try to get them in there with really zero out of pocket.
The last thing I wanted to talk about is called an MCC. Have you ever heard of that, Mike?
Yes, Motorcycle Chapter of America.
No, that's not right. That's not right, Mike. MCC is a mortgage credit certificate, only available for those first-time home buyers. And a first-time home buyer is someone who hasn't owned a home within the last 3 years. So if you owned a home 10 years ago and you sold it, 9 years ago, you would be eligible as a first-time home buyer.
Okay.
So a mortgage credit certificate is a program that allows us, it's basically a government assistance that we send the certificate into your HR department, and it actually increases your paycheck every week. So in other words, you have to pay less taxes. So it yields you a higher paycheck every week, which then in turn allows you to qualify for more.
Wow.
Had you ever done one?
No.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. There's a small fee for doing the MCC, but if we ever get into a position, and we use this a lot in this situation, where maybe our debt-to-income ratio is too high on the home that you fall in love with, so we take a look at an MCC program and see if that's a viable option for it. It helps us with that debt ratio because it's going to allow you more money in your pocket every week out of your paycheck. And that is for the life of your loan.
That's huge.
Yes.
We need to spend some time on that separately on a whole nother segment because I don't think a lot of people know about that. I had not done one of those. I know they're rare, absolutely rare, and I haven't seen one done personally. So I definitely want to spend more time on that because people need to know about that.
Okay. We'll talk about that next time.
People definitely need to know about that option. Absolutely. Well, what else we got? We almost wrapped up.
Right. That's all I have. Just kind of wanted to give some bullet points to people that are sitting out there thinking maybe they just don't qualify.
Okay.
So some eligibilities that maybe start to get some people thinking, like you said, buying versus renting.
Right. Yeah, so just, folks, if you're sitting out there, you're renting, you're going through the same old process month after month, and guess what? They're always raising your rent every 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. You're like, oh, should I renew again? And you renew another 6 months, and then they hit you again. Well, folks, even if you're sitting there with not a lot of money in the bank account, or maybe you're going paycheck to paycheck, just paying the regular old bills, guess what? You can still qualify to buy a home. More than likely, you're going to be paying less than you're paying in rent. You're going to have your own property, your own house. It's yours. Guess what? The property taxes are tax deductible, so you're going to be making more, probably getting a better refund at the end of the year as well. There's so many benefits to home ownership, folks. It's not even funny. So even if you're sitting there, not a lot of money in the bank account, or just going paycheck to paycheck, you need to get with us because we can probably get you in a house zeroed down. Folks, it's been another great mortgage segment with Angela and Terry, part of the Rocky Martin team. Website, rockymartin.com, Rocky with an IE. Phone number 866-607-5667 for all your mortgage and refinance needs. Folks, it's Mike Kruizinga, Inside Real Estate. We'll be back in a few.
Millennium Title, Carroll PC Real Estate is a unique multi-service real estate title, law, and real estate investment firm that handles over 150 commercial and residential closings each month. Their real estate, legal, and tax services range from purchases to refinances to short sales and reverse mortgages. They can handle all of your real estate, legal, and tax planning needs. Their experience offers clients and investors a comprehensive perspective in managing their real estate law and investment needs. Visit txtitleattorney.com, that's txtitleattorney.com, or call 817-310-0136.
This is Sean Manning and Tom Caulfield of the Power Trading Radio Show, sponsored by the Online Trading Academy of Dallas. We invite you to listen to our show this Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. on 570 KLIF. If you're frustrated with your current rate of return on your retirement accounts, you'll not want to miss this show.
You've been thinking about switching to solar. solar. Don't wait much longer or you'll miss out on this year's federal tax credit. Move quickly because the tide is turning. Solar power's becoming a threat to big energy profits. In fact, some power companies are even pushing for extra fees to make up for lost revenue. Warning, you must have your solar system up and running by midnight December 31st or you'll miss out on this year's federal tax credit. Energy prices are expected to increase by as much as 40% in the near future. Go solar now with no down payment, interest, or payments for a whole year. You can afford it because we finance. Get your government money and save big every month. Big Energy is getting nervous and the door of opportunity is about to slam shut. Paying $150 a month or more on energy bills? Then call 1-800-MY-SOLAR now for a free in-home assessment. 1-800-MY-SOLAR.
My home, my savings, 1-800-MY-SOLAR.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, it's Mike Kruizinga. We are back inside real estate website, insiderealestateраdio.com, insiderealestateраdio.com. And time for what I love most in life, and that's sports. And, you know, I'm a big proponent of high school sports. It's time for our high school sports segment. And I have got 5-time state champion head coach Steve Wood from Aledo Football right here in studio. We're going to talk some high school football. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Well, we really appreciate you coming in. We know it's a big ask to drive all the way in here on a Sunday morning to downtown Dallas, and we appreciate it. Want to talk about a few things, of course, all the state championships and what else is going on out there in Aledo. Let's talk about this year to start off. So right now, 7-1, and a good season so far. And why don't you give us a recap of what's going on this year?
Well, we had several defensive players returning this year. We had a lot of offensive skill guys we had to replace coming into the season. Had 2 big offensive linemen, really good football players that have committed to play college football coming back. We knew we were going to have to develop our offense, and we hoped that our defense might be good enough to carry us through a few games before we got into our district play. We started off with Cedar Park. We've played them the last 2 years. Very good program out of Leander ISD, and we've played them down at McLean Stadium at Baylor. We actually played the first game in that stadium last year. And had a really good game with them for a half and a little bit, and then we kind of fell apart a little bit, and they put it on us pretty good. They're a good team, really good defensive team.
Right.
And it was you don't like learning lessons that way, but they really kind of opened our eyes as far as what we needed to work on and what we needed to do to move forward. And really proud of the kids of how they did do that. You know, and really that's what football teaches you is, you know, there's an awful lot of up and downs in football, but you go work to fix your problems. You identify your problems, you go work to fix your problems. It's not really rocket science, and our kids have done that. I think we bounced back. We played a team out of Mississippi that was a very good physical football game. They were very good defensively, a lot better defensively than they were offensively, and we had a 10-6 win, which you don't see much anymore. No points scored in the second half there, and then the third non-district game, we played a team from Mexico, Monterrey Prepa Tech, and we've played them 4 years now. Probably not the best team they've sent up here, and we won handily there. And then we started district play, had some very good district games.
And I like what you do early on in the season. So you're not afraid to challenge the program, challenge yourself, challenge the team with some non-district games early on that are tough, like playing Cedar Park, and then playing that tough team out of Mississippi. And like you say, you want to get things figured out early. And you really challenged yourselves early on in the season.
Oh, I agree. You know, you get better playing better people. We believe that. And you never want to lose. And don't get me wrong, but they're going to point out any flaws you have and anything you need to go work on when you go play better people. You can get a false sense of reality playing maybe a lesser opponent and coming out with a big win.
And so you were a defensive coordinator since 2002, and then you came in last year as head coach. And went on back to the state championship and to finish off a back-to-back. You guys had recently gone for a three-peat, so 5 of the last 6. But how was it, coming in your first year? Obviously, you've been with the program for quite a while, since 2002, and a huge part of the program's success. But how was it, coming in first year and going back to the state championship and winning it all?
Well, I got the job real late, right before the season started. Coach Buchanan's been there, was the head football coach there for 21 years, and make no doubt about it, Coach Buchanan's the guy that has developed that program, brought that program to what it is, and created the winning culture that's there right now, and I understand that. And I got that job late and probably didn't have enough time to really worry about it and just had to jump in there and go. All the coaches were still there, the same coaches that have been there, and we knew we were going to have a pretty good team. We had some offensive firepower. We had to develop a defense, but Coach Buchanan stayed on as the athletic director and was there to answer any questions that I had, which there were a lot. And the kids were unbelievable. Coaches were unbelievable, and the community was great. It was I don't know. It really wasn't, other than, the anxiety of going into that state championship game, because we've played in several of them since I've been there, and we haven't lost one of them yet. And then you think about, somebody's going to lose that game. And I will say I was probably a little more anxious going into that game than I was when I was the defensive coordinator.
So more pressure.
Yeah, a little bit more pressure.
Now that you're there. And it was one of the closer games in the playoff run against Temple, absolutely.
Oh, those guys are good, real good. We were fortunate to come out of there with a win. I wouldn't have wanted to play them again after that one.
And so with Aledo being, small town, one high school, and we talked a little bit about this, and I want you to talk about, the culture of coaching, and, you're not having the same larger pool of players to draw from. Obviously, you do have some move-ins that are specifically coming for sports, for athletics, but, when you talk about these programs that become powerhouses like Aledo is now, the coaching is such a huge part of it. How do you take these young men and turn them into the athletes that they are? It's a tough thing to do, and so talk a little bit about that.
Well, it is a one-school community, which is one of the unique things, one of the special things about it, and I'm not sure it'll stay that way a whole lot longer. But athletics, football are really important, and to me, we're a big, sprawling community, and there's no real consistent thing that draws everybody together like the schools and the activities that go on at the school do, and football being one of those, and maybe the biggest one of those. And we have a youth football camp. We'll have over 300 kids that come to that camp, and our youth football program is unbelievable there. I mean, great guys run that. We clinic with them. We talk to them. They're very involved. We're very involved with them. And they get great participation down there. And so we have a lot of kids that wanting to grow up and be Bearcats, I will say that. And we have had move-ins, there's no doubt about that. I do have to contradict what you said, though, because we have to get paperwork done on any kid that comes in there, and if there's any question that they moved for athletic purposes and they're not eligible to play with us. And that's been a debate out there a lot with some of our kids that have come in, and whether or not we recruit kids and how that goes, and we're a good school system. We have good schools. I think if a kid comes and wants to go to a public school, I'd challenge you to go find one that's any better anywhere, and they're going to get a great education there. If you choose to go in an advanced placement route, I would challenge it. I would say that it's competitive with anybody's out there. But we have good kids, and we've always had really, really good kids in Aledo. There's some good, hard-working, goal-oriented, tough kids that, they like to play, and they like to play the game the way it's supposed to be played. And we've had some move-ins, without a doubt, that have gotten us over the hump, so to say, through the years. But I think anytime you have a good school district, a good school system that's close to a metropolitan area like we are, parents are looking for a good place for their kids to go get their education and play sports.
Yeah, absolutely. And we forget about that it's, it's a student athlete, and a lot of people forget about the student part of that student athlete. And what you're doing over there is just such great work as far as building these young men, into the great athletes they are, and being good men off the field too. So that kind of dovetails into kind of what happened down in San Antonio with the officials getting targeted down there. what are you hearing in the coaching community as far as how that went, and do we feel like there's any change amongst the players, maybe at the state level or national level, with them feeling like they've got the okay or the prerogative to even touch the officials? I know when I played, that was you just didn't touch the official. In fact, you didn't even talk to the official. That was the coach's job.
Well, there's no doubt. We had a kid get a penalty the other night for celebrating too much after he made a big play defensively, and because of what happens in pro sports and what comes down, and just almost in some sports you feel like you have a right to possibly argue your point to a certain degree, and every sport's different. Mm-hmm. Like, you may get a card for over arguing in a soccer match, and if you look at the umpire in baseball wrong, he may kick you out of the game. And every sport's different. And a lot of what our kids see comes down from what they see on TV, and what happens professionally, and how they were raised or brought up, and there's a lot of factors. It was a terrible incident down there, mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that's what makes news, are the negative things.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And if you go back and you run I don't know how many kids play football in the state of Texas or in the United States. And then when we had this incident, it's a terrible, horrible thing that happened. And I'm sure that they felt like the official was, cheating them, and I'm sure it was discussed and premeditated. It sure looked like it was. There were two guys involved in it. It was terrible, horrible. But so many great, 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 wonderful stories out there, and this is a headline grabber, and it's just like when you have a death or a terrible injury, in our sport, and it is bad. There's no doubt about that, and I'm not trying to minimize that, but
mm-hmm.
if we could highlight all the positive things that go on more so, which I think are there every day.
And they outweigh what the negative ones are, for sure. Unfortunately, just sometimes the negative ones are so bad, they really grab our attention, but and I think that's the great thing about what, you guys are doing over there, and your culture as far as how you coach, and, keeping your kids above board, and just doing things the right way. And that right there is an amazing story, and is a great story. And it shows in how you guys play every Friday. It shows in how you carry yourselves off the field, and certainly shows by the number of state championships and your commitment to the game, and commitment to the sport. So I've really enjoyed this. Coach Steve Wood from Aledo, head coach, 5-time state champion. We really appreciate you being in here for the high school sports segment here on Inside Real Estate. Folks, we'll be right back in a few.
With decades of experience, the Rocky Martin Supreme Lending Team will work to close your home loan in 30 days or less. With access to the most competitive interest rates, the most financing options, and the most access to down payment assistance programs, the Rocky Martin team won't be beating service to you for all your mortgage needs, including purchase and refinance. Trust RockyMartin.com and his team for their reliable and fast loan process. Go to RockyMartin.com or call 972-772-1866 today.
For housing lender, NMLS ID number 211731, 6730 Horizon Road, Suite B, Heath, Texas 75032.
Skin cancer is the most common form of cancer in the U.S. In 2011, there were more than 65,000 cases of melanoma, the most deadly form of skin cancer. Melanoma can spread to other parts of the body and causes over 9,000 deaths every year. It can be caused by too much exposure to ultraviolet rays from the sun or other sources, such as indoor tanning. Effective community skin cancer prevention programs could prevent an estimated 21,000 cases of melanoma and save $250 million each year by 2030. Everyone can help prevent skin cancer. You can protect yourself and your children, encourage your community to increase shade in public areas, and help support employers as they protect workers from the sun. There are many low-cost and easy ways to help your entire community be sun-safe. To learn more about sun safety and skin protection, visit cdc.gov/vital signs.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, Mike Kruizinga, Inside Real Estate. We're back. InsideRealEstateRadio.com. InsideRealEstateRadio.com. That was Coach Steve Wood from Aledo football program. We really enjoyed talking to him, 5-time state champion. That was huge having him in here. Thank you so much for coming in here, driving all the way in on a Sunday morning. We really, really appreciate it. And, folks, if you ever miss a segment, you can always go to the website, InsideRealEstateRadio.com, hit the archive page, and everything is right there for you. Time to bring in Brooke Owen from Millennium Title. It's time for a little title talk. How we doing, Brooke?
Very good. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good morning. So, what's going on in the title world? What are we talking about today?
Well, I want to talk for just a second about what title insurance covers. Some people confuse the title insurance with the homeowner's insurance. So, just kind of want to make that clear first, and then I've got a story for you. Title insurance protects against losses with problems in the title. So basically protects the owner from claims of other ownership on the property. It doesn't protect against fire, flood, theft. That's your home owner's insurance.
Right.
That protects you against those things. And in Texas, there's pretty much two main types of policies in Texas. You have the loan policy, which will repay the balance of the mortgage. And if you have a mortgage on your property, the lender is going to require a mortgage policy.
Sure.
The other type of policy is the owner policy. That protects the owner up to the value of the property at the time that it was purchased against, again, claims of ownership. So
Sure.
The owner's policy is optional, and there's been a little bit of a campaign lately by the government, the CFPB, to highlight that fact that the owner policy is optional. But in the same way that you and it's only optional, like I said, if you're paying cash for a house, you don't have a mortgage, then the mortgage policy isn't required, and you as the buyer, I guess, get to decide whether you want the owner's policy or not.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, if you're buying cash, pretty much everything's optional. You don't have to
Right.
get a survey. You don't have to get an owner's title policy. All you do is give some money to the other party, and we're off and running. But 95%, of transactions are going to be a mortgage, and so that's why we have to have that owner's title policy. And honestly, it's important because, you never know how many people have owned that property previously. Maybe there's been a flipper in between. Maybe it came out of foreclosure. Maybe it came out of a tax auction. And so things can get cloudy. That's why there is a term, cloudy title. And you want to be protected if somebody came back at some point in the future time and tried to lay claim to your property, particularly if it's, even if it's just a typical subdivision house. But if it's a more complicated property like a farm and ranch or something of that nature, you definitely want to have it.
Oh, exactly. And it's a negotiable term on the contract, whether the buyer or the seller pays for it. Have you ever had somebody who chose not to have an owner policy?
No,
buyer?
I mean, I've not done one deal that we did not do a title policy on, even on the cash deals.
That's good to know.
even on the cash deals, they've always done a title policy.
Yeah,
and
most of the time
smart.
that is the case. Yeah, and most people who are purchasing a home know that.
Right.
There was a young couple from Texas. They had been out of college for several years, been saving money, wanted to pay cash for a house. So found a little house out in the country, $150,000 on some acreage, and the seller, the older woman that lived in the house, Mrs. Smith, she didn't want to pay for the owner's policy, which a lot of times the seller pays. Most of the time, the seller pays for the owner policy, but she didn't want to pay for the owner's policy.
Yeah, I would say maybe 99% of the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't want to pay for it. And actually, in today's market, a lot of times that's something that buyers are offering to pay.
True. In multiple offer situations.
Making their offer more.
True. Absolutely.
Exactly. But anyway, so she didn't want to pay for the owner's policy, and they were paying cash. So he had to decide. It's Michael and Sarah Jones. They had to decide whether they wanted to pay for an owner's policy or not. Luckily, Michael's mom was a real estate agent. She said, absolutely, you have to get the owner's policy. You don't want to miss that. So they got the owner's policy. So it's move-in day, and Sarah's inside unpacking boxes. Michael goes out to the mailbox. He's putting their stickers, their name, last name on the mailbox. A car drives up. Older man gets out of the car and says, "Hey, which room is mine?" Michael says, "Pardon me?" And the guy says, "Yeah, where's my room? I own this house." And so go back 30 years. Mrs. Smith, her children are gone now, but 30 years ago, Mr. Smith took off. They owned the house together. They hadn't seen him since. Nobody knew where he was, and somewhere she had refinanced, and somewhere along the way, his name had gotten left off of the deed. So somebody made a mistake in there somewhere.
Right.
But so who owns the house?
Yeah, questionable.
He does. His name's in
Wow.
title. He was never legally.
He was
Filed
never
a
taken
record.
off.
He was never taken off title.
Wow.
So now they are $150,000 into this house.
Mm-hmm.
What happens? Well, first the title company would go obviously after Mrs. Smith to see if and try to recover if he was willing to take half of whatever she made on the house. More documents would have to be signed. We'd have to start all over. But that's one option. In this case, the title company contacted Mrs. Smith, and who knew she had a gambling problem? She went straight from the title company to Las Vegas.
Wow.
That money was gone.
Wow.
So, so
there's your title policy.
In that case, yeah, your title policy covers you. So they were covered. Mr. Smith did own the house, but Mr. and Mrs. Jones were covered. So they didn't lose their $150,000. If they hadn't purchased that owner's policy, they would have just lost it.
Yeah, and so these things still do happen.
They do.
For example, married couple, maybe one says that the other one had passed away some time ago. Maybe they do an heirship affidavit, but yeah, that person maybe could still turn up. We don't know. We don't know what's going on. Like, and she had a gambling problem. We don't know. So that's why these owner title policies are there. They're there to help us protect us, and we look at it as a cost, and we have to evaluate it if we're purchasing cash. But thank goodness, really, it is mandatory on the mortgage deals because we need it. I love that story. Because
it doesn't happen often. We don't have a lot of
doesn't.
claims. It's once in a blue moon, but when it does happen, it'd be huge.
You need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need it. Absolutely. That's good stuff. Good stuff, Brooke. Okay, Brooke Owen from Millennium Title, millenniumtitle.com, and also txtitleattorney.com. Good stuff. Folks, it's Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga. Hey, we'll be back next week, 8 a.m., as always, on Sundays. We'll see you then.
Neither the hosts nor the guests or contributors of the show Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruizinga are attorneys, CPAs, tax advisors, or investment advisors, and are not providing legal advice during the course of the show. If you need professional legal advice or services in any of those categories, please seek the appropriate professional. The host is a licensed real estate agent in Texas with the Chris Arnold Premier Realty Brokerage, a fair housing broker and member of the MLS. Texas real estate agents are prohibited from providing legal advice.
News and information 570 AM.
96.3 FM HD2. KLIF HD2. KLIF HD2. KLIF HD2. KLIF HD2.